We heard that there is now a VAR, a VAR analysis of Chiwenga and Marufu done by who? By Zigo. Zigo is now the VAR specialist with a certain wrong professor. I said, there are many Kasongos these days. Kasongo Zigo and Kasongo Professor, they are doing VAR over a Kasongo church. Suddenly we have a VAR over doctrinal matters. All right. Anyway, it's fine.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Apostle T.F. Chiwenga once again noting the VAR exercise that we are doing on this platform, and we are going to respond to this shortly. Tangoti Tingotanga Neipapo. Welcome back to yet another episode of the verification, analysis, and revelation, where we are reviewing whatever submission that was done on the Sabbath debate between Evangelist Marufu and Apostle T.F. Chiwenga. And of course, we've got the evangelist himself in person. We are reviewing him. He's not exempt. He's not a sacred cow. And we have got also Apostle T.F. Chiwenga in absentia because he's giving a comment every day, which means he is watching as well. So we acknowledge his presence and would wish for him to come. Because from the first day of the episode, we have consistently invited him. By introduction, we want to do this with him, whether virtually or in person. But I hope since Tukuramba Tichienda, he will be here. And of course, we have got the professor himself, nicknamed the Rogue Professor.
Professor.
People don't understand the Kuti Uganzi Rogue. Magnitude, actually insult.
So again, like we highlighted yesterday, within the study of the Word of God, be it as a theologian, be it as a scholar, and just about in life, when you are concerned with ideas, you don't mind insults. Yeah. Now, what? And again, we highlighted this yesterday. What game are we playing? If we are playing a game, and I'm using game as a metaphor, what are we doing here? We are verifying what was said. Now, verifying what was said is noble. Why? Because we read on Acts chapter 17 yesterday, verse 11. Now, and it's speaking about the men of Berea, that now these were more noble than those of Thessalonica. Why? Because in that they received the word with the readiness of the mind. Yeah. After having received the word with the readiness of the mind, what then happened? And they searched the scriptures daily. Doing what? Checking whether those things were so. So,
and that is exactly what we are doing.
What we are doing. So I'm not attacking anyone. I'm just attacking ideas. It's just ideas. I am not attacking the evangelist. I'm not attacking the apostle. I am simply looking at the facts that they gave us. They are the ones who came in on the debate. They are the ones who gave us the data. We are analyzing the data. What is factual? What is a fabrication? And in throughout, we have seen fabrication from the evangelist. Yeah, we saw a fabrication, locational errors. When you would say this was in Rome, when it was not in Rome.
And he humbly acknowledged them.
Exactly. He humbly acknowledged them. Not just that. We saw that he also made some historical errors. When you would say, oh, the Catholic Church is the mother church, we said that no. There was also the Orthodox tradition, the Ethiopian tradition, and the church of the church fathers, rather the church fathers and their disciples handed over the church to 3, 4, 5 different strands of traditions. Now, when we say this to the evangelist, he took it with grace. Oh, okay, that's what it is. That's what it is. If he's going to debate again, now, those facts, those fabrications that have been turned to facts are now corrected. And guess what has happened? In his knowledge, he's now stronger. Yes. So, one of the things that you know, and any scholar can affirm this, one of the things that you know is that you don't have a husband and wife relationship with ideas.
What do you mean?
What it means is that you may hold on to a certain idea, to a point of truth, or a perceived point of truth. But when new light then comes in, yeah, when new light then comes in, irimo yambabri yamunovunzwa imakabhabhatidzwa nerubhabhatidzo rwani. Takabhabhatidzwa rwaJohn. And they received it with gladly. So what then happens is when a person does not want their ideas to be examined, it means that they are not ready to change. They want to stay in what they know. And they have this, it's an immaculate conception to say, what I know is what I know, and there can be nothing else. And yet it is not like that. Truth is progressive, and truth is not discovered, but truth is revealed. So as long as the apostle is in dealing with insults, I mean, again, I'm not in there. I'm not in there. I don't deal with insults. I deal in looking, examining the facts. Is it a fact? If it is a fact, praise the Lord. If it is not a fact, go and revise. Yeah, and this is why also I highlighted that me and him can never debate. Me and him can never debate.
Why? We're not about Professor pride.
No, and not pride, because we are not doing the same game. We are not doing the same game. What do I mean by game? We are not doing the same things.
We are not debating.
We are verifying facts. We are verifying. Dr. Watson Biriri is a brilliant mind. He can never ever debate with Apostle Chiwenga. Why? They're worlds apart. They are worlds apart. They can't debate. Why? Watson is not dealing with insults. He's dealing with data, analyzing, verifying. That's what he's doing. That's what we are doing. So if you're dealing with insults, I mean, we don't mind that, because insults will touch probably one evangelist, because they are the people. They are the people who live with the people. They are the people who minister to feelings of people. Any scholar will never ever be offended by an insult over an idea, because scholars are not mindful over feelings. We are mindful over findings.
Plus, also, I learned a quote from, it's not from Dr. Naledi Panda, but I think she got it from someone. And insults are the last refugee of a secondary or something like that.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Thank you. Ezigo is a journalist, yeah.
But more than insults, he now makes very strong allegations against you that you are a hired gun now. And you've been hired by the SDA Church with the sole responsibility or objective of trying to spin the narrative and give a conclusion at the end that...
There is no narrative that is being spun here. Is it a fact that Israel was not a nation of believers? It's a fabrication. I'm not spinning. In fact, if there is anyone who's spinning, it is him. He's spinning to say that in the Old Testament you don't find believers. Wrong. Covenants were preceded by belief. You had to believe and then covenant come. So who's doing the spinning here? It's not me. So when he says no one could keep the Sabbath because of the ceremonial amendment to the Sabbath commandment that you find on Numbers chapter 28, that's a fabrication.
Yes.
That's not a fact. I'm not doing the spinning. Yeah, I'm not doing the spinning. When he then says there was no synagogue, right? When he highlights the idea of synagogues, we say that, oh, no, synagogues came in just before Christ was born. He said, no, that's wrong.
Yes.
That is wrong. Why? Because from the first synagogue to the birth of Christ, there's how many years? 400 years. Who's spinning? I'm not spinning. I'm just showing everyone to say, well, he's a very eloquent man. Yes, he is an apostle, but check him. Check him. Check the facts. Why? It's not just him. There are many, many, many other apostles. Their methodology is flawed in that they mix what? Truth and error. Yesterday we saw he was highlighting that Herod.
It's not Jewish.
He's not Jewish. Go into history. Check any history book. It's a fact. He was Jewish. So when you say he's a pagan, that's a fabrication. So that's what I'm doing. All the insults can come. I'll continue to verify the fact.
And even when he got his facts correct.
And I said, when he got the facts correct, I said, brilliant. When he highlighted that Abraham was a pagan, we clapped hands for him. Why? Because that's a fact. I even highlighted the methodology that you find there.
So
the
you're
criterion
only
of
loyal to facts here.
I'm not loyal. I'm not loyal to him. I'm not loyal to Apostle. I'm loyal to facts. That's what I do. I deal with facts and findings.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the professor, rogue professor in courts, setting the record straight that here we are dealing with facts. And this is the last day of this episode, of this show this week, before we pause so that we can let our Adventist friends go and observe their Sabbath in peace, whilst they are still trying to convince us that Saturday is the day of worship, isn't it?
Okay, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. And then we'll resume next week, hopefully. We'll communicate with you what will be the next steps. And Apostle T.F. Chiwenga has stressed again and again that we are open to have this review together. This show is for everyone, whether you are a scholar, you are a novice, uri munhu achangobva mukutendeuka, kana uri munhu asiri kutomboda kutendeuka, you are an atheist, or you are just a journalist like me. You are free to come. I think we've maintained an environment yekuti nyange pasina kunzwisiswa tinouya toedza kusanangura nekarungu kadiki katinenge tinako. Share this video to as many people as possible and subscribe and like from wherever that you are watching this video from. Just a recap of what we are talking about, what we were talking about yesterday before we get into today's business.
So yesterday we were mainly highlighting the idea of the how keeping the Sabbath or Sabbath observance was dynamic, in that how they kept the Sabbath was changing according to location, time, and social situations. Yes, circumstances. Yeah, social circumstances or social situations, right? And we saw that how they kept the Sabbath within the ancient Near East, looking at during the times of Abraham, how they kept the Sabbath when they were in the wilderness, how they kept the Sabbath when they lived in cities during the time of the monarchy, how they kept the Sabbath during the time of the exile, post-exilic. Yeah, in Deutsch,
Let me explain to them. Post-exilic is that time after my Israelites angaenda ku Babylon, very in captive, and then pawakabuda my Israelites, they were nowhere to be found. Obliterate or something of that sort. For Buddha Wama Jews. So you hear the language of the Jews after Babylon. That is what we call post-exilic.
That's right. So post-exilic and the apostle.
Yes.
And again, the apostle got it right to highlight that it is where we see synagogues also starting. The idea of synagogue in the sense of Greek synagogues. And let me clarify that. The word synagogue, as we find it in Greek, yeah? So the concept of synagogues, we really find it as a post-exilic experience now. But this does not mean that before exile, they didn't have the concept, right? And takaona paya kuna sounds nezuro. Tikaona vaitwa nema places of worship that were also destroyed by who? By Nebuchadnezzar. But after exile, ndo patinotanga unazoona manje wakudi manje. Wakuwaka ma synagogue. And for up to the time Christ is born, for those 400 years, which is known as the intertestamental period, the time between the testament, between Malachi and Matthew. During that time, there is a lot of things that happen. And for your information, I'm a specialist, especially in that area that is called
Sona.
Atotosona.
And also, I think you learned something. I'm not for Konamagabanezo. I don't say texters, receptors, but in Doti, Texas respecters.
Texas receptors.
Yes. Maybe
Okay,
you
so
can
So we then saw that how they kept the Sabbath was changing. But more post-exilic manje, ndo matinotanga kuona kachengeterwo kanoitwa Sabata cannot reflect how the Sabbath is kept today. But even how the Sabbath is kept today, again, is somewhat redacted. Takadzora volume. Pane zvaitwa kudhara, because kudhara waiti kana vachitochengeta Sabata racho vaitanga Friday. And I know many people who keep the Sabbath also they prepare Friday. After preparing Friday, vanobika chikafu nemuswe Friday, vogadzira mbatya and on Friday. But the idea of family is done. You really don't find it in many people, but the idea of family, kuti nemuswe Friday, munongana say muri, and you have a Sabbath meal as you are receiving the Sabbath. Again, you don't find it. The concept of the Sabbath now is really focused on just Saturday. You don't find it being celebrated of course, there are many people who do it, right? There are many people who do it, but the concept of the Sabbath, as you find it, Second Temple Judaism, post-exilic, it's the same thing. Sorry, it's the same thing.
Yes.
Why muri? It was special. Candlelight, bread, baba mumba. Ndiminotaura nyaya dzevarume ndo vaimira semprista mumhuri mavo, voverenga mavhesi, voimba kambo, and then they would receive the Sabbath. Now, I highlighted yesterday that also vaizoti kana vapedza kudya meal, baba namai vaizopinda mumimba yemukati wodi vokamburana vachigamuchira Sabbath. That was one trend. It was not done by all.
Singaposo TF Chiwenga ari right kuti Sabata richachengeteka because ana baba vemazuva ano vachakamburira mumba yemukati. Vakangoona vana varara chero kwavari ikoko vokambura.
But there was another tradition.
Language yavo. There was another tradition.
But there was another tradition yaitorambidza ita hausaite zvaunoda naro pazuva iroro, but the main line Judaism yaidaiwa. So when you look also, even amongst Adventists, when you look also, there are those who say, musatomboite nyaya dzekukambura on Sabbath. Muri kuita zvinokufadzai, muri kushanda, muchiita sei. But when you go to the East, when you go to the Jewish historical concept,
you should rest also from Kukambro on Saturday. Let's go.
Okay. So when you go into the
Marufu!
You are fighting me. Marufu is fighting me. So you have these two different views. Yeah. But when you look into the Jewish culture, the oldest that you find, they really are highlighted that the first day of Adam and Eve was on a Friday night together, and God said, "Be fruitful and multiply." So it is from that text that they extract the idea that
it's not a problem for you to.
It's something that is holy, being done on a holy day.
Yeah, when you said, I think it's the second episode, that Jesus didn't come to nullify,
of course,
but he came to clarify.
Exactly.
And the clarification was what you can do on Sabbath. It doesn't necessarily mean that you should be idle,
of course,
just sleeping and cheerleading. You can do something good, like he healed people on Sabbath, he spread the good message on Sabbath, and he did a lot of good works on Sabbath.
That's right.
And now we are clarifying that from if God told Adam and Eve on a Friday that be fruitful and multiply, he was telling them that kusangana muimbe mukati, it's a good work that you can do as well on Sabbath.
Okay, no, but I need to be specific that what is holy is in the marriage. Yeah?
Oh.
Yeah. The marriage is holy, and the Sabbath is what? Is holy. So it's a holy thing and a holy thing that is met, and it was called a high day, Baba. Most of the shades are good. High day is not how to do. Kana chitsene nechitsene zvasangana.
Ane chitsvene nechitsvene. Mutsvene nemutsvene vasangana.
Kana mutsvene nemutsvene vasangana. Baba
Vadidai. So today, Professor, we want to know what we are going to look at today.
So what we are going to look at today again, and we thank God, many comments that we are getting are very, very positive, and they're highlighting that we should also show the apostle saying what he's saying, and then we show people where the fact is and where the fallacy is, where the fabrication is, and where the fiction is.
So are we going to do that
Yes,
today?
that's what we are going to do today. So we are going to look at the apostle now responding to the affirmations that have been given by Marufu. Remember, Marufu wangu atudza isusu kuti Jesu akaprofita pamusoro pezvesabata kuti pamunyengetera kutiza kwenyu kuregedza kuvapa pachando kana nepasabata vangu vativerengera kubva muna mabasa avapostori vakatiratidza vapostora vatedzeri vajesu mubhuku remabasa avapostori vachichengeta sabata vakabva vakazonotiratidza mukati menhoroondo tichiona vakafambisa vhangeri vachichengeta futi chii vachichengeta futi sabata. But pandoda kuti titarise nhasi toda kuti titarise panonzi when the apostle is responding to the text that has been given by Evangelist Marufu. And when we analyze, we listen to what the apostle says, we then verify it. Okay, so roll it.
A debate where we end up teaching each other how to read the scriptures. To be honest, it's not proper.
No.
Now, I will test my argument easily by reading Acts chapter 12. I will test my argument easily by reading Acts chapter 12. And what we are going to see here is that verse number 1 says, "Now about that time Herod the king stretched forth his hands to vex certain of the church, and he killed James, the brother of John, with the sword. And because he saw it pleased the Jews, he proceeded further to take Peter also. Then were the days of unleavened bread.
And when he had apprehended him, he put him in prison and delivered him to 4 quaternions of soldiers to keep him, intending after Easter to bring him forth to the people."
Yeah, thank you. So, Evangelist Marufu, if you can look at Acts chapter 12 here, there are two things that cannot be conflated. They were days of unleavened bread, but Herod was planning to kill Peter after Easter. And if you knew this history you are talking about, you would have discovered that the word Easter in Acts chapter 12 does not mean the days Jesus died. Easter had been a Roman pagan holiday.
Yes.
300 years before Jesus was born. So Herod was never a member of Jesus' church, neither was Herod a Jew, and yet he had an Easter program.
Yes.
And so the logic behind my argument is, since we find Easter in Acts chapter 12, verse 4, should we then do Easter? Or since we find the word, the days of unleavened bread,
Yes.
should we do the days of unleavened bread? Bishop Evangelist Marufu left 1.5 minutes in his opening statement. Since you said we can use them, the other party can use them, I want to suggest that you give me that 1.5 minutes.
Though will not allow you to, Apostle.
Okay, it's fine.
Yes.
So my point is that it's not everywhere you find the word Easter that shows that there was Easter in the New Testament. No. Paul entered the synagogue 3 Sabbath days in the book of Acts chapter 17 when he was at Thessalonica. Paul was not attending the Sabbath. Paul was entering the synagogue on Sabbath day.
Yes.
And the Acts 13 scripture that Evangelist Marufu opened.
That assertion that when Paul entered the synagogue on the Sabbath day, he was not observing
the Sabbath. And he
day.
was so strong, Apostle Chiwenga, on Evangelist Marufu, saying Evangelist Marufu is continuously making the mistake of affirming that wherever you find the word Sabbath mentioned in the New Testament, he misplaces it for the observation of the Sabbath. Saka nekuti panyorwa nzi Easter, zvakureva kuti pane Easter here, kana panyorwa nzi Independence, zvoreva kuti vanhu vaenda kuindependence here. And I think
again, I think that we need not also to be, to split hairs. In that, when you look and analyze at what the prophet says, I think he's a guy who exaggerates many things. For example, in this text, he highlights that Evangelist Marufu has made a terrible mistake of looking for every part in the New Testament where it is written Sabbath. I think it's a hyperbolic statement. It's excessive exaggeration. And when you verify that, it's not a fact also. Because Marufu has just highlighted the Sabbath in the book of Matthew, the Sabbath in the book of Acts. That's that.
yes.
But then the apostle but these are minor things. Yeah, these are minor things. But, we pick it. We pick it to say, okay, how many times did
Blowing things out of proportion.
Yeah, blowing things out of proportion.
Saying this erotic and heretic.
Exactly. He likes to...
It's like Munaba and of what you've been treating us.
Yeah. It's treason. But you idea. He angokota Matthew na Acts, right? But anza akota New Testament we understand. Of course, also it is in the spirit of what? In the spirit of debate. That's why I'm saying we may not need to split hairs. I think we must leave the rabbits. Let's go for the elephants. Yeah, the big things that the apostle has said. The apostle has said and verify that. He said Paul entered the synagogue for 3 Sabbath days in the book of Acts on chapter 17 when he was in Thessalonica, but Paul was not attending the Sabbath. That is the claim.
Yes.
Let's verify that. Let's verify that. Right? Now, number one, in his analysis, he is also factual to say, and we need to applaud. He highlighted the idea of the text that we have in the New Testament and in the Old Testament. Mavesi ose atina New Testament ne mavesi ose atina Old Testament anoita zvinhu zviviri. Chekutanga kune mavesi anodescribe, ndo atinoti madescriptive text aringotsanangura zvakaitika, ndizvoka. Ipapo Mwari nezuva rechinomwe akaropafadza zuva rechinomwe akariita dzvene, handitika. It's describing, ndizvoka. Genesis chapter 1 verse 1 muvhangeri,
pakutanga Mwari akasika denga nenyika, ndizvoka. It's
what? It's describing. It's describing. So we have texts that describe, right? And all the texts that were cited, save for one, my text also akasaitwa na Marufu are could describe, right? When you do a surface analysis of the texts that were cited by Evangelist Marufu, they were describing the events that happened on a Sabbath.
Yes.
But in a two text, that when you do a deeper analysis, now, which we call an exegesis, exegetical analysis, you then find that in the descriptive, you find a prescription. So, first text that we have in the Bible, tinema verse aringotsanangura zvakaitika. Tozoita mavhesi mubhaibheri ari kuprescribe, kutaura kuti mavhesi ari kutaura zvinofanirwa kuti zviitike. Thus saith the Lord, thou shalt not kill. That's not describing. That's prescribing. So the rebuttal of the apostle is correct in that. Mavhesi amapa Marufu hapana pari kunzi en Paulo akachengeta sabata iwe chienda unochengeta futi chi sabata. Mavhesi aringotsanangura kuti Paul akapinda musinagoge neSabbath because akapinda hazvirevi kuti akadi manje akachengeta. That is his argument. Ndizvoka. Again, this is where you find the apostle very, very dangerous.
Okay.
How is it dangerous? Fact, fabrication.
Yes.
Put them together.
Overite.
Come up with a fictitious explanation.
fictitious explanation.
Yeah.
Explanation game movie.
Yeah. And that's what you find in how he then explains. In how he explains this. Do you still remember the text that you highlighted?
Acts 17.
Yes.
Yeah, verse 1, 2.
Mhm.
Verse 2.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right.
It's now Paul says I see it.
Exactly. So chekutanga chaunoona foot again. The book of Acts is not a book of commandments.
It's a book of
The title is right. Mabasa avapostora. Hapasi kunzi mitemo yevapostora. Ndizvoka. Mukauya kwatakadzidza kuGerman uku. Vanobva vati the book of Acts is called a Heilsgeschichte. Kutaura kuti it's the history of salvation. Heilsgeschichte. This is German now for salvation history. Salvation history. So what you see in the book of Acts, what you see in the book of Acts is that it is an interpretation of the Acts of the what? Of the apostles. If you want to know what the apostles did, you go where? You go to the Acts of the what? Of the apostle. So we then say that the Acts of the Apostle is a quite essential New Testament document on salvation history.
All right.
And we divide it into two sections. The first section, the Acts of Peter. The second section, the Acts of Paul. So again, it's a really, really theological ignorance to overemphasize the missing of commandments, because you don't find commandments. You find also prescriptions like go ye therefore. But you find it, but it comes in again embedded in the narratives. Why? Because the text itself is a history
book.
It's a history book. It's a history book. You are not going to find an equation in a history book. I mean, well, you might find it, but the idea is it's not supposed to be an equation book. It's again, there are people who highlight that, no, you can't believe in the Bible because the Bible is not scientific. Because pana Joshua paipai, Hans Joshua akati zuva rakamira, isusu takurarama nguva ino takuziva kuti zuva harimiri chinomira earth. And said, so because the Bible does not describe the event scientifically correct, therefore the Bible is not correct. I said, that's nonsense. The Bible is not a scientific book. It's a book that highlights the relationship between God and man, written by men whom God revealed, and they wrote according to how they understood, through what we call thought inspiration. God would inspire the thought, the writer would write as they understand. So, again, to then come and say, we don't find Marufu Sabbath, it's uncalled for because you have gone for descriptive text and you have taken them as what? Prescriptive text. It's unfair. Okay, there are two texts that you highlighted that were very, very descriptive. And I've taken pains to analyze the two texts to really dig deep and see what is going on. And I'll do an analysis of just one, which is Acts chapter 17, verse 2.
Acts chapter 17, verse 2.
Verengai munhu waMwari.
Paulo zvaisita akapinda musinagoge masabata matatu akataura kwavari.
So when you're analyzing now, we always say, and this is the commandment. Of course, that doesn't sound Christian, but the rule of thumb says the devil is in the details. That is to say, if you really want to know the stuff, go to the details.
Okay.
Go to the details. Don't focus so much on the tree that you miss the forest. Go for the details. Now, let's analyze that text, because it begins by highlighting that according to his custom. According to his what? Custom. And in Greek, it says, kata atheos. Kata. What happens to kata, Baba? Okay, kata atheos, which is mean according to.
Okay.
According to. Now, kata is where we get English words like category. This is where we get English words like catalyst. Catechism. it also comes from that word kata. So when you're also looking at kata, it's really highlighting the idea of according to.
Oh, so if I say kata etios marufu,
Yes.
according to Marufu.
According to the rules and regulations of Marufu.
Okay. I see. Ndikufunda. Zakubere.
Yeah. Now,
So that's a powerful.
now I like that word also, atheos. No? What does it sound like?
Etios.
Yeah.
Theology.
Your theology is theos, buddy.
Theos, etios.
Ethics.
Okay.
Ethics. Sounds like ethics. Now, atheos and ethos have they're like cousin words. Ndisekuru nemzukuru. Ndisekuru nemzukuru. Ndo patinowana varare kuti ethics. Ndo patinoderive words like customs, character, norms, and values. You know, again, the idea of ethics is the idea that highlights character. According to what? According to what? According to custom, right? So ra highlighter that word, and then it says to Paulo, right? That is to say, zvaitwa nani manje? Na Paulo. Now, so when you look at that word now, when we then analyze that, it's not just something that was done as a missionary strategy. It was not done as a missionary what? Strategy. Paul didn't just go to a synagogue. Because as his what? Custom. See, and Luke likes this word. Luke are not fast because Luke chapter 14. Not Luke chapter 14, chapter 4. Jesus as his custom was. He likes this word custom. So, zvinhu zvaidi zvaita hazvisi zvinhu zviri kuitirwa kuti. It's not the end that is justifying the means. I'm not just doing this so that I get a desired end result. I'm doing this because this is within my character.
It's not going to the synagogue so that he can preach.
No.
He's going to observe the Sabbath at the synagogue.
His custom was.
And if he finds an opportunity to preach, then he will preach.
Exactly.
Okay, I get it.
Exactly. So, Paul, as his custom was, we then find that it was part of his ethical code.
Zico is a journalist.
Oh, Zico is a journalist. What will visit Baji? Now, so when you do what I'm doing now, it is called, this is what we now call exegesis. This is what we call now analysis.
Exegesis.
Yeah. Taakudzika utoona kuti zvataurwa zvezve ndizvo here. We are now verifying. We are now what? We are now checking. So what you find in the whole Heilsgeschichte of the salvation history that you find in Acts of the Apostles, it's not just giving us a history, Evangelist Marufu. It's also establishing what we call a normative apostolic practice.
Normative.
Apostolic practice. Tiri kuona zvaitwa. Manorms.
Okay.
Emachi
Kahunu. Kararamiro.
Kechi kema apostol. Now, if the apostle had highlighted kuti no, hawasi kuchengeta sabata nekuti wari kuchengeta sabata, wari kuchengeta sabata nekuti vanhu havaiva maJudha, I think that was a better argument.
Okay.
It was going to be a better argument. And this is the point that I think he can prove it or he can highlight it. But I suspect that the apostle is oblivious and ignorant to the fact that the first Christians were Jews. Ndo saka kavari kunetsana pana mabasa apostle chapter 15 kuti vakomana magentile ngavasekamusayizwa. Vakomana ngavasadye zvinhu zvisina kuningirikina. They are not even supposed to eat food sacrificed to what? To idols. Saka funga kana muri kunetsana nenyaya yechikafu.
Nenyaya circumcision.
Kokuzoti iri pamutemo.
Which is part of the law. Circumcision is kumberi kwemutemo.
Izwe kumberisa. Saka, for you to, if he had argued on the idea that aiwa iwo waidotadi, handiti, because imi mukati mnekuti munhu mutema adya sadza, adya unonzi bora unedoyo. Blackjack. No mbora. No. Mbora inonzi pumpkin leaves. So, ukanzi aiwa itsika ya vanhu matema. What are some of the norms and values of the Shona people?
The Shona people, Shona people mazwana hasina norms and values.
Torora. Now there is a new
Torora
thing that is going on, and I've seen it on social media. And Dimune does a social media, but I doubt it as a social media because of you. I've seen that there is someone who was supposed to go and marry, and then there was something that happened.
Izvi zvakuitika ndezvoti vasikana vakutreata the traditional lobola is a wedding ceremony in some sense.
So it's a new culture now. But the fundamental culture of the Shona is what? Tinorora. Andidika. Saka mukanzanzi munhu akanorora, you can dismiss it by saying no. Angasingachengeti murayiro waMwari. It was a cultural what? Practice. I think that was to be a better argument, but I'm not here to tell how the apostle how to debate. But the way he rebutted the point that was raised by Evangelist, again, it was not factual.
What I assume you are saying, Evangelist Marufu mentioned the Apostle Paul would go to synagogue. The same way that Jesus would also go to synagogue, which one of arguments, nemachi. And Apostle Chiwenga comes and says, you are making a terrible mistake of assuming that just because someone was in the synagogue on the Sabbath, you are now assuming that they are observing the Sabbath. And then now you are coming to say, as it was their practice, or as it was their custom, he was not going there to fishermen, or to say, kusabata ndoko vanenge vakaungana ndopo nzeve dzavo padzinenge dziri ready kuteerera ndakuenda aitoenda to observe the Sabbath, and pari kuobserva Sabbath bebe obva achitora that opportunity to do a good work as Jesus said.
Because what you find in the Heilsgeschichte, there are three things that you find in the Heilsgeschichte, in the history of salvation that you find in the book of Acts. Number one, it established a normative apostolic what? Practice. Number two, it demonstrated personal conviction. It was not just a mere strategy. It is the idea of what? Personal conviction. It also correlates with Paul's teaching. And we are going to touch this. We are going to touch this because as we go on with the debate, you will see a huge confusion that is being displayed, where one person thinks that when the Bible speaks of the law, it's one thing. There is no ability to split the hairs because the commandments in the Old Testament were three things. It was not one thing. So because one cannot split these three things, they then thought that it's all the same.
But in the recent review by Apostle T.F. Chiwenga, where he was reviewing the doctors from SDA Mandara, he used the scriptures to prove that the law is one. There's nothing like you split the law, you make ceremonial, you make what?
That's biblical nonsense. We'll look at it. Don't worry. That's biblical nonsense. It's just nonsense. Yeah, it's nonsense. Yeah. Now, so again, when you're studying Paul, you find what is known as Pauline modus operandi.
Pauline modus operandi, the way that Paul...
the way that Paul would operate. So, again, on Acts chapter 13, verse 14 and verse 44, where is Paul? Antioch. What does he do? Goes to synagogue on a Sabbath. Now, you go to Acts chapter 17, verse 1 to 2, where is Paul? Thessalonica. Now, go to the map. Just go to the map. Look at where Antioch is. Look at where Thessalonica is. And what is common within that vast distance is a modus operandi of Paul. And what does he do? Now, Acts chapter 18, verse 4. Where is he now? Corinth. Korinde manje.
Vakakora. No. Korinde vakakora. vakorinde hamuzeti vakorinde vakakora.
And what does he do? Again, he goes.
Saka kana ndiri kukubatai. Because why I'm interjecting you ndichizviisa kushona is because not everyone is can understand the type of language and tone that we are using.
Okay.
Saka tiri kuti Paulos modus operandi.
Modus operandi.
Modus operandi.
Well, it's really a Latin term that is used within theological discourse to just highlight how he operated. Yeah.
Saka tiri kuti dai zvainzi Paulo wanzwa kuti ari muAntioch. Wanzwa kuti muvhangeri Paulo vari kuAntioch. Kana uri musi weSaturday tomboti wawatsvaga washaya kwese. You were more likely to find Paul at the synagogue.
Of course.
Observing the Sabbath.
Of course.
Next week wanzwa kuti ndo ndafonera tete wangu ari kuKorinde. Tete mukuziva kuti muapostora Paulo vasvika muKorinde. Ndina phone number yavo ndoita sei? But mukaenda pa Bluff USDA munova vana varipo. Ndo mafambiro aita chi.
Now, when you look especially, and the evangelist highlighted this in the debate, when you look especially in these cities where he's going, you find, especially in Thessalonica and in Corinth, that yes, there were some Jews within this, because that was now in the diaspora. It's now in the diaspora. The majority, and of course you can fact check that. What cannot be argued is there were more Gentiles in those churches than Jews. So these were not necessarily predominant Jewish churches. They were predominantly Gentile churches. Why were Gentile? Because these are not Jewish cities. These are Gentile what? These are Gentile cities. The Jews that you find, it's like when you go to Germany, when you go to England, when you go to what, you find pockets of Zimbabweans. You go to Luton, Luton why? You find many Zimbabweans there. But you cannot say that Luton is a city of Zimbabweans.
No.
Yeah? You cannot say, you find Nigerians, you find guys from Jamaica, you find Zimbabweans also. But predominantly, you find a couple of people who are...
usually Nigerians, they open their egusi restaurants
all
over diaspora.
Exactly.
But ukapinda imomo unogona kuona Nigerian restaurant mutori nemamwe ma-Africans akawanda kudarika ma-Nigerians acho. So that's the same.
Exactly. So a contextual analysis yaitaurwa na-evangelist kuti yaitaurwa na-apostle kuti tikaita contextual analysis zviri kutaurwa navamarufu handizvo. That's not a fact. That's not a fact. Actually, a contextual analysis of this text highlights that Paul did not go into the synagogue for the sake of going. Now, it's like this. Munhu watutaura pamusoro pezvake evangelist mupostori akagerwa zuda, ane ndebvu, ane gemens, ane tsvimbo, aenda kumasowe. Unzi aenderei, unzi angasina kuenda kunonamata. Do you see how foolish that is?
Yeah.
Why? Because if it quacks like a duck, if it walks like a duck, then it's a what? So you cannot say, no, it walks like a duck, it quacks like a duck, it looks like a duck. It's not a duck. So what is it? It's a believer.
Munhu watinaye mukomana wechidiki. Handiti. Munhu watinaye mukomana wechidiki.
Yeah.
Akagerwa Bible.
Yes.
Ari masculine.
Yes.
Akapfeka ma-shorts nema-armband. Aenda kugym. Anga nekabhegi kane mvura nematawel. Asi haana nojima.
Nzanzayo angangoenda.
All right. So even in the way that he would attend the Sabbath, the actual day,
yes,
he would attend it, not in the spirit of I want to go and preach.
Because you are in the first century, Zigo. You are in the first century.
No.
You are also in the Jewish community.
No. I think now it's Acts chapter 13. Wakaenda kuno verse 14. Ndio wakaenda ku Antioch. Ndio wapista. I think verse inoti wakapinda musinagoge nezuva reSabata. Zvino vakati vagara, murayiro nawaprofita zvikaverengwa. ivo vakagara. Zvino wakuru wesinagoge wakauya vakati, varume hama, mune shoko here ramungada kuti waraidza naro? Paul didn't request to preach. He was there sitting, attending the services on Sabbath. They actually asked him, kuti mune here shoko ramungada kupa? So he saw someone was coming for services on Sabbath, hearing the messages, but akatonzi kana mune zvekutaura tipewo. So it was not a strategy where he was going there to preach.
Akatozokumbirwa
asvika akatozonzi munokwanisa here kuzodzoka futi sabata rinotevera. I think verse 44, verse 42, kuti kana mungakwanisa here kuzodzokawo futi mutipe futi. He was not the one to say, ndiri kudzoka futi pana, ene sabata rinai mugadzire, ndirida kurowa imwe mharidzo. Akatobuda semunhu angapiwa chikomo akanzi tokumbira mudzo, akadzoka futi sabata rinotevera. You see, per request.
Yeah. So, and then again, whilst the evangelist highlights this, and again, this is what you don't, and it's called buffet hermeneutics. Buffet hermeneutics, kuti kuverenga mavhese mubhaibheri uchisarudza uri kuda, uchivhara usuri kuda. Handinozwa buffet. Ukanzi taenda kupati kune buffet. Buffet kutaura kuti chikafu chinenge chakangowaridzwa kubvapo kusvika. Plate haisi kuuya zvamunoita kumuchato kunenge kupako zokuti munotoya zvakazara. Pabuffet manje inenge iri tebhuri iri kubva uko kunosvika uku. Handiti
Iwe uchifamba.
Iwe unofamba uchidi uchinhonga. Saka tebhuri riri apa ibhaibheri manje. Saka zviri kuita vanhu vari kuenda bhaibheri manje vanotora mavhesi avari kuda kuti aya ndoedai. Voignore vasiri kudi manje. Avasiri kuda, or they explain away. Saka ko same sina kutora mubhaibheri moti hayi dzinondifina. You explain it away. And this is what the apostle did with the verses that were raised by the evangelist. He explained these verses away, ignoring the context. The larger context is the first century Jewish community. Munarutaurwa ndi Paul. And the apostle again highlighted this idea that Paul was a Pharisee. Yaanozobata yachinzi akazoramba achiti zvese izvi. I considered it all as what? As skubala, as dung. Ndizoka?
For the excellence of the knowledge of Christ Jesus.
Exactly. Now, skubala yakaipa. Inonyadzira. He ignores time. He ignores the person's identity. He ignores the ethical, moral code. It's a clear, beyond any reasonable doubt. Go to any scholar worth his salt. Do an exegesis on your own of this text. You will see that there is no one, apart from Evangelist Marufu, from Apostle Chiwenga, there is no one who explained this verse by saying, Mpostor uyu anga akapfeka gemenzi aine ndebva akagerwa zuda aine tsvimbo ndobva aenda kumasowe. Paakaenda kumasowe angasina kuenda kumasowe kuti ari kuenda kumasowe. No. It's not like that. It's not like that. It's not like that. It's you are not reading meaning out of the text. You are reading meaning into the text. The text is very, very clear. It was his ethical, moral conduct. That's that.
Paulos modus ambarandi.
Operandi. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay. So, again, let's check that fact. Let's check that fact because the apostle here has said that Acts 13, scripture, blah, 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 is highly inappropriate because there were synagogues in what? In Rome. Now, he's highlighting Acts chapter 13. Now, anyone who has gone to a theological school, and not even to a theological school, anyone who has read Acts chapter 13, right, who understand what is called the first missionary journey, will tell you that the first missionary journey was not what? It was not in Rome.
Where was it?
It was in Antioch of Pisidia.
Yeah,
so when the apostle says it was in Rome, and I know what he's doing, he's rushing to highlight that, why Rome and what, but he links it with Paul. Paul was not in Rome, at least in this text. Acts 13. Go and read it for yourself. Do the fact check for yourself. It was not in what?
In Rome.
In Rome. It was where? In Antioch of what?
Pisidia.
Of Pisidia. It's the first missionary journey. You find it on Acts chapter 13. Right? So, again, the apostle is not factual. He's mixing truth, error, and comes up with a fictitious biblical explanation. Yeah, fictitious.
I would have fabrics.
Okay. Next, Lydia and the other women were not observing the Sabbaths, so there wasn't a problem of not finding a synagogue, because you don't need a synagogue to observe the Sabbath. You need the temple. Play it.
So there wasn't a problem of not finding a synagogue, because you don't need a synagogue to observe the Sabbath. You need the temple. So once you connect the synagogue and the Sabbath and you say this is evidence that the apostles observed the Sabbath, honestly speaking, this is highly speculative, and we shouldn't tolerate that.
Pause it.
It is not the true.
Again, the apostle classifies this as highly speculative, closed quotes. Because the evangelist has highlighted this. The apostle now is responding. In his rebuttal, he says this is highly speculative. Now, let's fact check that. Now, we go to the text. The first thing that you find in the text, Acts chapter 16, verse 18, the Bible then reads, and on the Sabbath day, and this is the English version, tikapinda mchigiriki manje munhu wamwari, inobva yatanga ichinoti te hemera ton sabaton.
Tete marathon Sabbaton.
Exactly. Now, oh, patadzika manje. Now, because what then does that mean? What does that mean? Sabbaton there is a noun which comes in a case that we call the genitive case. Now, and again, we mustn't be too hard on the apostle, because he's not reading the Greek text. Now, and I don't think that there is anyone who go to hell because they are not reading the Greek text. But when you want to come up and accuse people of being highly speculative, you need to also do your background check. Yeah. Otherwise, you'll be pointing one finger to the person and three are pointing at you. And I think that it's good to have people who do exegesis for you. To just say, oh, guys, can you check this for me? If you don't have people who can do that exegesis for you, go on the internet. Do the exegesis there. They can do proper exegesis. They can do proper verse by verse, word by word, line by line analysis. Now, when you look at this word now, on the Sabbath, we then find that it is impossible to theologically divorce the day from the activity of the day that it was worship. You cannot do that. You can do that with an English version and with a Shona version, and you can get away with it. But when you go on television, when you go on a debate, you're supposed to check your facts. Get your facts right. Because when you don't get your facts right, we are going to do a fact check. We'll look at what you have said. We'll see what you have said, whether it is true. All right. So in this text that has been cited by Evangelist Marufu, you find three things. In this text that has been cited by Evangelist Marufu, that is being rebutted by Apostle Chiwenga as highly speculative. The one who's actually being highly speculative here, not just highly speculative and ignorant here, is the apostle. Why? Because he does not check his facts. He just reads in probably one version. I'm not sure which version they were using as they were reading the text. And I would advise anyone who wants to read the Bible and anyone who wants to go and debate with people, before you go and debate with people, at least read one verse. Verse 1 in 10 different versions. Manuscripts, translations, when you translate, as you translate, there are some things that are missed, but the context is the same, right? So what he misses are three words. The first word, we highlighted it. It is the word tete hemera what? Ton sabaton. That is highlighting time event occurred. The time and the event and what occurred. The next word that you find is a word that has to do with place and location. And I like this word because it's proseuche.
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 What is proseuche?
Now, there are many words that are used to designate places of worship. Say, in Shona, nzimbo dzekunamatira tinogona kuti aenda kusondo, aenda kukereke, aenda kumasowe, aenda kukrawa. Mawords ari kutaura nzvimbo yekudi yekunamatira. Aenda kupi? Aenda kuchitsidzo, aenda kusabata. Mazita ari kutaura zvechi
kana taenda nobvisa mari.
Aenda mugwanza.
Vanobvisa mari kakuchechi mazano ndokubviswa mari stereka. Anobvisa mari.
I think we need to baptize Zigo.
The time has come.
Okay. Now, so Bible, especially New Testament, tine mazwi akawanda anotaura nyaya yenzvimbo yekudi yekunamata. One vara racho is synagogue. Ndizoka. Rimwe vara racho manje is proseuche, a place of worship. So, first thing, the time is of worship. Second thing, the place is of worship. Third thing, the action that they are doing is worship. Saka moon aenda panguva yekunamata, panzvimbo yekunamata, achita zvekunamata, motanga asina kuenda kunonamata. How nonsensical can one be?
One can always wonder.
That's a nonsensical interpretation. Because the time of worship, place of worship, act of worship, and then you declare and say, wanga wasina kuenda kunonamata.
Angaenda ku-outreach. Angaenda sowini.
Anganoraura here. It's
Wait, counted, found 1D.
Yes. Now, so what he accuses or what he encourages Evangelist Marufu to do, he does not do. Yeah, you know, usatarise gashi?
Kaziso kari musono.
Not gaziso.
Danda.
Shasira negirigina. Ite zvechijena. Tipe vhesi bro.
Zigorwe mavhesi.
Do not the prick that is in someone's eye before you take out the log that is in your own.
So he says, Evangelist Marufu, imunofanwa kuita contextual reading. And you also responded in the debate and said, no, this is a contextual reading. Yeah. Now, so when you do the contextual reading, you find three things. What are the three things that you find? Time is of worship. The place is of worship. The activity is worship. Yeah. And you find these three distinct in their Greek words. It was not an evangelistic strategy. Yes. It was not a cultural custom. It was adhering to the moral, ethical code. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. That's that. That's that. So what you then find with people when they are reading the Bible and when they find the truth that they don't want, they want to close it. And this is typical of what the apostle did. He simply dismissed the verse away.
Shut the door.
He did not engage with the verse. He shut it out. He did not engage with the door. And a thinking person cannot do that. Yes. If you really, really want to arrive at points of knowledge, you must be prepared to engage with things that you don't like. When you read things in the Bible, things that you don't like, you must find out, why is it this makes me angry? Why is it that I don't like this idea? Why is it that this thing pricks me? Engage, split yourself into four and have a conversation with yourself. One self-defense, one self-attack, one self-supports, another self-supports in a four-cornered house of talking to yourself. You then arrive at a point of truth. You don't wish away what things.
You don't like.
Yeah. This reminds me of a pastor. It's a pastor Chugogora, He used to tell a story of Marufu angakapiwa aifamba musango angapiwa mbuva emagwavha netoshi. Anzi ndobva azovhura magwavha ake. Paanovhura magwavha chida kudya batidza toshi ona kuti ari kutanga rine honye baba. Rechi2 rine honye. Rechi3 haabva oda rine honye. Asati avhura rechi4 ndobva ati magwavha ese akaite hoya problem ilight ndobatimalight dzakaripwanya murima ndobva avheneka zvakanaka murima akati hari right harinai ndobva atorova. Now you don't explain away problems. Engage with the problem. Engage with the text. There are texts mubhaibheri mese kune mamavhesi ekuti ukariverenga unoziva randirova. And don't explain, don't dismiss it. Don't ignore the elephant in the living room. In the same way, the evangelist also did that. In his proclamation and in his defense of the Sabbath, he did not engage with the verses that talk about the first day. And they met on the first day. And they met on the first day. He didn't engage with them. What did he do? He ignored the elephant in the living room. So, how? Because mavhesa auya by inspired selection. Kukanzinyora. And the evangelist got it right to say, remember, especially the book of Acts. The book of Acts is written around, of course, we debate between two dates, 60s to 64, 60 to 64, or in the 80s. Yeah, there's a debate, huge debate about that. But it's being written. The evangelist highlighted, Jesus atofa, atomuka, aenda kudenga, ndizvo. So why would then they write about a Sabbath which no longer existed? Right? So my advice, if it is worth it, is people must engage with Bible texts that do not speak to what they believe. Engage with it. Find what it is. What say varavara. Tisaita buffet hermeneutics. Kusarudza mamavhesi chiti aya ndo atoda aya atade aya ndo atoda aya atade. Kune mamavhesi ekuti rinonatsokuvhiringa rinatsotaura zvinhu zvausingadi chaizvo ndizvo. And you want to rub it away. Haribve vhesi nekuti warivhara. It will continue speaking. And Acts, the two texts that we have read, for me, they are the death blow to the Sunday conversation when you do a proper exegesis. It's, look, I'm not the one who wrote those texts, but the contextual reading of those texts is...
And when you talk more about it was Paul's custom, isn't there also a verse which talks about Jesus, which says...
Luke chapter 4:16, it also highlights that. And remember, Luke and Acts are written by the same guy. Yeah, so we actually say Luke and Acts is part 1 and part 2. It's both salvation and history.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, then there's another thing that he highlights. Maybe we just look at this and then we topedza. Tipembere tisiye evangelist wapembere Sabbath. The apostle goes on to say, okay, Vura.
A record of what the scripture is saying and the historical context of the texters, receptors of the manuscript of the New Testament does not suggest that, does not support that. There's no evidence that the apostles observed the Sabbath. Zero evidence.
Thank you, Apostle Chiwenga, for those remarks.
So the apostle then says, you need the temple to observe the Sabbath. Now let's examine that. Let's fact check that.
Yeah, I like the way you say fact check that.
Yeah, we need to.
Yes.
We need to. He's wrong. Wrong. It's not factual. Why? We highlighted this. You don't need a temple as an individual and as a family for you to observe the Sabbath. Zvekutemberi zvaisaitwa nana Evangelist Marufu, zvaitwa nemapirisita, ende mapirisita zvavaita kutemberi vaiuraya waingani 4. They would sacrifice 4 animals.
2 for Friday.
2 were for Friday. On the Sabbath, they would sacrifice the regular 2 and an extra 2. That's what was done in the temple in relation to Sabbath worship. And we call this a ceremonial amendment to the observance of the Sabbath. When you read Exodus chapter 20, it does not have that ceremonial aspect. What you have in Exodus chapter 20 is the rest family aspect. When you go to Numbers chapter 28, that's where you find the national ceremonial aspect. And we need to clarify again, it was misinformation. That one, why to end why mbirimbiri. Kana munhu asingaende newhy haasi kuchengeta sabata. That's wrong.
Every weekend.
No, that's wrong. The Bible doesn't say that.
I'm trying to imagine how practical it is.
The
But
Bible,
every weekend.
it's the apostle who says that. The Bible does not say that. You can go and fact check that. The Bible doesn't say that. Now, do you know what? The temple of Solomon is destroyed by Nebuchadnezzar. Ndizvo. When it was destroyed, saka vanhu vasachengeta sabata. Vaishengeta. Ndo panotanga ma-open air chi worship. Ndo panotanga futi idea chi yemasynagogue, because hamuna place of national worship. So what you are now retaining is what? A place of communal. Takaitaura point iyi. Communal. Mutown, mu-CBD. Hatisisina. City Center Church. Yekuti one wese, the central church. Ndizoka. So what are we now doing? Takuti wari kumfakos munoita kasinagoge kenyu. Wari ku Highfields munoita kumabvuku kuchitunguisa. Muri kuita tumasinagoge twani? 20. Pa destroyiwa yemutown central church. Handitika?
Yaikwana munhu wese.
Yaikwana mupi? Munhu wese. Zvochirevere kuti hamuchachengeta sabata. It was not what factual. The synagogue law was also coming in to highlight that. It also implies, and again, he's oblivious. I don't know how he arrives at that. He does not understand that there were many, in fact, millions of Jews who lived in that diaspora, far away from the temple. They were very, very far away from the temple. So were they not keeping the Sabbath? They were keeping the Sabbath. Even paka destroy wa Jerusalem. Besa havana kuenda mu Babylon, you know. Vamwe vakaendeswa ku Egypt, vamwe vakaendeswa ku Asia Minor, you know. Wakaendeswa kunzvimbo dzakasiyana siyana. Ndizvo uku kwana Nebuchadnezzar. Patinonopinda mu New Testament. Vakarohwa futi neRome. Ndizvo vakarohwa neRome vakomana AD 70. Vakarohwa neRome, vakatiza futi vakamwararika. And this is where we see the New Testament coming in. When you look at the 7 churches in the book of Revelation, there are 7 churches that are coming in Asia Minor. It is spread throughout what we call Asia Minor. And as Jews were there in different pockets, some are in Babylon, some are in Egypt, some are in Rome. Whilst they were there, they are not in Jerusalem. There is not even the temple. So are they not worshiping? The fact is, the apostle is wrong to say you need a temple to adhere to the Sabbath commandment. The fact of the matter is, you can observe the Sabbath commandment without a temple. This is not a claim. This is a historical fact. And I challenge anyone to go and verify it. They will agree with me. And not agree with the apostle. Because you don't need a temple to observe the Sabbath.
Powerful.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the professor. He is very, very firm. And he's using scriptures to support the claim and point yakaitwa rebut Evangelist Marufu yenhau yemafambiro aita vanhu mararamiro aita vanhu vachiobserva sabata. Saka professor Baruch fact check that and has come to the conclusion that these guys, these apostles or New Testament believer, it was their norm, it was their culture, it was their way of life. Kuti tinochengeta sabata. And then ari sabata ikoko Vangeli Marufu vabudisa point yekuti Paulo akatonzi akagara achinzwa shoko zvanzi mune here zvamuda kusharewo nesu, which was actually an ideal Sabbath practice.
Exactly.
I'm not sure if that's the same.
Yeah, it's exactly the same. And you know where, for me, where many people lose it is, Tinem, a great number of people who think that when someone throws in 7 verses, and I wanted to highlight on this, but our time no longer allows. I wanted to show you how people are easily deceived by people who throw in verses that are not connected. And because someone has just thrown in a bunch of verses, it's so easy for us to then say, hapana verse one. Verse riripo, tinotsanangura one verse, tofamba naro hatimanyi. Line upon line. Naro one verse. Tapedza naro torikandao. Tuenda pane rimwe. This idea of bundling up verses that are not connected, that does not, verses that are decontextualized and throw them, is actually a persuasive trick that is done by many, many religious practitioners. But now, if you are a person who's searching after knowledge, if you're a person that is searching after the truth, you say, okay, my verse 15 down, but again to the 1 to analyze. And when you have this habit of taking one by one and analyze, you'll be shocked by many lies that are peddled within the many verses.
Amen. Ladies and gentlemen, so we have come to the end of our weekly, of this week episode that Anchita Fact Checking Review. We are going to resume this coming week. Say, send your questions, also share the video. Don't hesitate to comment. Keep the comments coming, whether they are negative or they are positive. We learn a lot and sometimes we have a good laugh.
Yes, that's true.
Mvangeri, your last words?
I think it was a pleasant week. Prof White Justice, Maoni Randaita. Probably, I think maybe that's why my brother Chiwenga was trying to run to the other study, I get quiet, Mandara. Because if he was genuine, angade akadzoka up. Akaito fact check yake. I know he does that. He fact check people. And that's what makando atichi magaya akati zvakati. Ningi akati zvakati. Maparinga akati Jesu akadaiwo. And he does that whole player who say ngaito izvozvi zvataita izvi. Angadai akadzokera, he knows. I think akazviona kuti chinhu chakaoma chakandisunga. That's why akafara pakabuda chekumandara chiya akabva amhanya akati aiwa pane zvakuitika ngatipota vatiza. If he's a genuine man, kadzoke mucontent yatakadiscuss ataurawo zvatiri ini ndakati zvakati muvhangeri akati zvakati ndakati zvakati muvhangeri anga ona izvaitwa namuvhangeri apa airasaona apa ini ndakati zvinhu zvazviri correct haana kumboita zvakaenda kumandara.
Both unlike Mandara haina kutova
Mandara yanga Mandara yanga isingataure iye. Mandara yaita zvinhu zvayo. You see, we also see a deception in everything that is this man is doing. Now he throws names. Dzikurwiswa na maponga ari kundirwisa, Marufu ari kundirwisa. Why should isati basa nokurwisa na Chiwenga? Even patakaenda mudebate, takaenda for the love of the truth. Kuti titofara chokwadi hapafana kutamura kana isiri kunyepa tauya nezvatinotenda tasisa paground. Tarisai. What the prophet is doing is okay, ngatitarisei zvakataurwa komana. Tarisai isiri kuti saka tasununguka tauya. We are not even hiding. Iye ari kutakaona program ine kuti Zigo is doing the video. I just say it's actually a joke, I think. It's actually a joke. I think anofana kutira zvatutaura. It's actually a joke. If he really means, if he really wants to save one, can I say that for gain, of fame, kutanzi ndiye anotaura ane big mouth and what? I think I want to be honest with him. Ngatarise, if he loves the truth, I'm not running away.
And unfortunately, he's complaining because you are fix checking him in his absence.
No.
It's
not in his absence because he's actually responding to this.
But it fix checks you also in your absence.
Zaka wakataura chokwadi even usipo. Nakuda ari agara pana ndisipo ndakataura chokwadi. Nekuti tarisai mozotudza results. Why am I worried? Nekutarisa kuti I presented the truth. Why is he worried? Ndafana kuti wakumanaka musanetseke zvandakakuudzai chokwadi tarisai. Why coming on
because we are not examining what he is saying. We are examining what he said.
What he said.
And what you said represents your presence. Did you say this?
Kuda kumoka kuti patsvagwa rock professor chenjerai zvawane zvawakuita wana Zigo.
We are not going to speed anyway.
Whether ndiana Zigo, if ana Zigo are lunatics. I don't care if I presented the truth. I say, okay, scrutinize zvandataura ikoko and the truth, it always defends itself.
That's true.
We're not afraid. I think ari kunzwa zvatakataura hapana zvavari kubvisa kana kuwedzera. Prof ari kuti ngatitarisei kuti pawati panada tembo ichokwadi here wokupa mavhesi aratidza kuti pawatanzi pana munhu gwayana everyday, was that even possible? Ko majews anga asiripo netembo anga ari diaspora aenda kuti what are you saying, and everyone is, saka he knows the outcome. So he start playing, kuda kutanga kutuka vanhu, kuda kutanga kukanda mawedzi, kuda kutanga kuti hey ona zvawarada kuita, hey andiri kuziva maresults, vada kuspina chinhu, vada kuspina chinhu kuti chinzi Marufu akawina. No, win for what? It's about the truth.
It's the truth that wins. It's
ndinowina kuti chii? Ndoda kundibvunza mafinal words. I think yave mafinal words randa kutaura, asi ndiri kuzama.
Again. We are not trying to spin anything.
Yeah.
We are just checking the facts.
Yeah.
He can also check the facts where he is. Look at what he said. Look at what Marufu said.
Fact checks on what we are saying here. Ngaaite program achiita zvaakaita zvekuwandara zviya. Ngaauye futi paine. Ati right, vapedza. Vhiki rino ngatitarisei zvawakataura. Atange futi achiti apa.
Pakanyepa.
Tembo wakanyepa.
Tembo yake apa.
Wedhira vari kuti ndio riripo pagirika harisiriro. Wakanyepa. Ngachika aiteka is allowed. Dambudziko, he had brainwashed many people.
That's true.
Brainwash vanhu, and you see vanhu vake even havana mafacts, vanda kutuka gava iro remaromo, professor wazodai mukamburi chichi wapera.
No. Aiwa.
Ndio vanhu vake iwa udaferisha vanhu vachikotuka
wachipopota. Dila nema idea.
Satina watatuka. Kana ipana atuka nani? Wana kuchongona kuti hey hanzemu anchakude Marufu, hey uri kuita sewakuita content creation, Facebook, YouTube, content creation. How do you appear on Facebook? Usina kucreate content. You must be a content creator for you to be accepted on Facebook. Kana usina content au trend. You must create content. So we are all content creators. We need to create content. Zvinongoti pendo kuti creator ndio unoda here, but we are content creators. Ndio kuti tigone kuwana platform pa Facebook. So kana ukati mama content creator, yes, we've been content creators all along. Takauya tichicreate content. So it's not factual.
Amusimane hasha nemsuke Sabbath. Sabbath arinovumirwa kuti hasha here.
Ore itaka hasha chemaya, hanzi ndine maya akazotora chiwe pakataka kuzvapura vanhu vamwe vachiteerera. Okambura.
Thank you, Professor.
Oh no, it's been a very I've learned a lot from you guys. I've learned a lot, especially on dealing with social media, and I've learned a lot from you, Evangelist Marufu, and I really thank God, and I mean it. I'm not just saying it for being politically correct. I've learned a lot also from the young man Zigo. What a young man! What a young man! May God really bless you.
I think also this week also rapera wakuchena wakudi.
Thank you.
Your water.
Let's see next week.
Thank you. Wonderful.